Hey, what's going on, guys? June here with Hapa英会話, and joining me today is Kelly from Cafe Talk. Hey, Kelly, how you doing?
Hey, June, I am doing awesome. How are you doing?
Good, good. So today, let's talk about another word that sounds a bit strange when you directly translate from Japanese to English. And I kind of hear this a lot, and I want to get your take on it. And the word is buka. Buka, my buka. So buka in English, if you directly translate it to English, is subordinate. So, the other day I was talking to my student and he said, yeah, June, I went to lunch with my buka yesterday. And I was like, oh, okay. I get it, but なんか変なんだよね, right? I don't think I would ever say that. So, again, before we get into it, I went to lunch with my subordinate. Is this correct as a sentence?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, the grammar's fine. I went to lunch with my subordinate. I went to dinner with my subordinate. I had coffee with my subordinate. The grammar is totally fine. The structure, the sentence, the order, great.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a weird one?
そう、それなんだよね。Right? そう、文章としてはもう全然間違っていないし、文法的にも全然 OK だけど、なんかね、不自然なんだよね、この subordinate. So, yeah, what is, like, how do you feel when you hear the word subordinate?
I almost feel a little bit offended, to be honest. I'm a little like, you're subordinate? Wow. You think you're really important, don't you? I've never used this word ever in English. Obviously, like some of the examples, you see it in writing, maybe you see it on the news, great. But I don't think I've ever said the word subordinate before. And there's probably a couple of reasons that make this a weird word choice in English, whereas in Japanese, it's perfectly fine and it's not offensive and there's no nuance to it. So as some of you guys might know, my degree in college was actually Japanese studies. I used to be super duper fluent, lived abroad and everything. Forgot a lot of it now because it's been a while, but I'm not going to tell you how many years because I'll age myself. But on my journey of Japanese, I've tried to learn Keigo for like 6 times, and my brain will just not absorb it. I understand the concept of those that are higher than you or lower than you and how you address them differently and out of politeness, kind of like maybe like a business English sort of reference, right? I just could not get my brain to do it. And there's a couple reasons why maybe this word subordinate in Japanese sounds okay, because I feel like maybe in Japanese and other languages as well, it's really, really important to know the status of the person you're talking to and the person you're talking about. Are they higher than you? Are they lower than you? Are they in the same company, inner, outer circle? And that's very, very important to be polite and respectful and not be rude. In English, that's not quite as important, always. Sometimes it is, sure. So when we say subordinate, it sounds like you're making this person so much lower than you that I almost think that you're a jerk.
Yep.
Like, I had a subordinate with me at lunch. You sound like you're really, really full of yourself because you're talking about this other person like they're so much lower than you. So in English, it's a little bit less important to establish that, especially in a conversation when the subordinate's not here in the room, right? We're talking about a third person, but I still have to show that I'm so important. That's what makes it sound weird for an English sentence.
Yeah, I have to agree with you 100% on that. I think, obviously a lot of it does have to do with the difference in culture, right? やっぱどうしても日本の場合はね、誰かと話す前に、the first thing you have to establish is この人は自分よりも年上なのか、年下なのか、自分よりも地位が高いのか、地位が低いのか。And depending on all that, the way you talk, right? 話し方とか自分の態度と your attitude, everything changes because it's That's how the language and the culture is structured in Japan. やっぱ日本の場合は仕事だけじゃなくても、やはり一番最初に相手が自分と比べて上か下なのかっていうのをまず判断した上で会話をする。In America, we don't really have that culture, especially when you meet somebody for the first time. 上なのか下なのか関係なしに you just talk to them, right? やっぱどうしてもアメリカ人からすると、誰かがね、I went to lunch with my subordinate って言うと、もうケリー先生が言ったみたいに、like, who are you? kind of thing, right? Like, who do you think you are? なんでこの人こんな偉そうにしているんだみたいな、なんか自分の方が上なんだよっていうことを一生懸命アピールしている感じがするから、やっぱアメリカのね、こう、文化、会話の中では、you just don't say it, right? Yeah, it just makes you sound like a jerk, like you said. Yeah, 本当にね、なんかちょっと、何この人ってどうしても思ってしまうんだよね。So what do we say then? So if, of course, even in American companies, you have your boss and you have people working under you, just like Japan, that doesn't change. What would you say? I went to lunch with my subordinate. How would you change this sentence right here?
So I think there's a couple ways you can answer this. And the first, easiest, most usable way might just be to be general. I went to lunch with my coworker.
Mm-hmm.
I went to lunch with my colleague. I went to lunch with someone from my office.
Mm-hmm.
Being general and not saying, oh, well, they're just so below me
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just so important in the company. I'm not in the company. I don't care what your levels are. Why is this the point we're focusing on is the level? So colleague, coworker, person from my office, great. If you really, for some reason, maybe you're helping train someone, right? So for example, my dad just retired, actually, last month. So he had to kind of train some new hires, some rookies, I guess we would say, like in Japan as well, and kind of to replace him, to kind of help take over once he leaves. Obviously, they're new. He's been there like 40 years. Obviously, they're under him. I guess you could say maybe like my trainee, if you really needed to show for some reason that they were lower than you. But there needs to be an actual reason. Like I took my trainee out to lunch because it was his first day. Then that makes sense. It's very obvious why I'm telling you they're lower than me. It was his first day. I wanted him to feel comfortable. Sure. But I really wouldn't even need to use trainee. Coworker, colleague, it doesn't matter if they're on the same level or higher than lower than you.
Yeah.
I think in this case, general is actually more polite than specific.
Right. And I think, trainee might be, there are certain situations where you maybe need to specify, or, maybe if you're talking to somebody that understands your situation and you're at a role where you've been training somebody for a long time and you've been talking about somebody you've been training hey, I decided to take my trainee out for lunch today to get to know them. That sounds totally normal. It doesn't make you sound like a jerk or anything like that, right?
You sound like a really nice person in that sentence. Like, oh, they're so sweet. Look at you trying to make them feel at home and be nice and introduce them. You sound great.
Yeah.
Subordinate.
ね。だからやっぱ英語の場合は一般的には、特に部下の場合は、just very simple coworker, colleague もうこのどっちかを使うっていうのが多分英語の会話の中では一般的なんだけど、Let me ask you this question. Oh man.
It's okay. You might see my cat start walking across this bridge back there too.
All right. Okay, so this is what I was going to ask you. So how about this situation? So of course, when you're referring to your buka or your subordinate, we never say subordinate, right? It's always coworker or colleague. But what if it's your joshi? What if it's your boss? 自分より上の人。今日、I went to lunch with my boss today. I went to lunch with my supervisor today. Is that okay in English conversation to plug in the boss instead of coworker right there?
I think so, because that's their title. They're your supervisor, or they're the president of the company, or they're your section manager. That's their title. And it's a little bit less offensive in a conversation to put someone above you than to put someone below you. If you're specifically saying my boss, okay, I know they're above you, sure, but I'm not putting them down.
Yeah.
I'm not making them sound like they're less important than me or less talented or less good at their job by saying subordinate. Subordinate almost, when I think of it, I think of like the military, where it's very clear your rights and your responsibilities here, 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 and here are very, very clearly laid out, clearly specified. And that's kind of a part of your identity. Whereas in a company, it's like, oh my God, are you like a general? Are you General Patton? Like, who are you?
だからやっぱ英語の場合は自分より上の人、ね、your boss, your supervisor、まあこういう表現に対してはね、you could say my boss, no problem at all。でもやっぱ自分より下の人のことをあえてね、部下、subordinate。There's no reason to say that, right? もう自分よりね、ポジションが下でも everybody is your coworker, everybody is your colleague, and that's probably the best way to refer to them. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys very much for watching our video today. Don't forget, Kelly is an amazing teacher on Cafe Talk. You can find her information in the description below, or you can go to cafetalk.com and find her there. Kelly, thank you very much. I hope to see you again in another video.
Me too. Thank you. Thanks for watching, guys.
Bye, guys. Hapaスクール春学期が4月10日よりスタートし、現在モチベーションが高くやる気のある受講生を募集しています。今回の春学期では自分が住んでいる場所について、もしくはこれまで旅行した場所についてより具体的に分かりやすく相手がイメージできるように上手に説明することを目的に9週間にわたって学習していきます。当地のグルメの紹介の仕方や文化や習慣の説明の仕方について最も印象に残る思い出や苦い思い出、トラブルにあった話の仕方、そして最も重要なその場所に行って自分自身がどう感じたのか、今住んでいる場所について自分がどう思っているのかをより明確に分かりやすく相手がイメージできるように9週間にわたって一緒に学習していきます。パパスクールの学習課題は月曜日から金曜日に配信され、1日の学習時間は30分程度になりますので、忙しい方でも気軽に学習することができます。ライブレッスンではその週学んだフレーズや表現を私が分かりやすく日本語で解説をします。もちろんコースの中では一つ一つのフレーズに対する解説がありますが、コースの中では解説しきれない細かなニュアンスの部分について私が1週間に1回1時間のライブレッスンで説明をしていきます。もしコースを受講しながらわからないことがあれば、コース専属のバイリンガル講師がいます。いつでも質問することができ、日本語で質問することができますので、わからないことがあれば直接バイリンガル講師に質問することができます。ハパスクールはパソコンや携帯さえあればいつでもどこでも自分の好きな時間に自分のペースで学習することができます。ハパスクールは4月10日のスタートになりますが、お申し込み締め切りは4月7日となります。So come and join us at Hapa School this spring. We have a lot of fun here, and by the end of our 9-week session, I have no doubt that you will be able to express your mind, express your thoughts, and express your feelings, and become a great storyteller. I'm looking forward to seeing you at Hapa School Spring Session.